The warning alarm screamed across every military base on Earth. Admiral Jihoon stood in the command center, his eyes fixed on the massive display screen showing Jupiter's orbit. Something impossible was happening. Ships were appearing out of nowhere, materializing like ghosts in the darkness of space, not one or two, but hundreds of them. Each vessel was larger than anything humanity had ever built. Jihoon had been a soldier for 30 years. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion, commanded fleets during the asteroid wars, and never once felt true fear. But now, watching those alien ships take position around Earth, he felt something cold settle in his chest. This was different. This was first contact, and it did not look friendly. The communication came 12 hours later. Every screen on Earth, every phone, every computer suddenly displayed the same image. A creature stood before them, tall and insect-like, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed with an unsettling intelligence. Its voice was translated perfectly into every human language. People of Earth, I am High Counselor Vrenth of the Galactic Council. We have watched your species for some time now. You have reached a level of development that requires our intervention. Ambassador Minji sat in the emergency meeting room with dozens of other world leaders. She had trained her entire life for diplomatic moments, but nothing had prepared her for this. An alien species more advanced than humanity could imagine was making demands of Earth. She listened carefully to every word Vrenth spoke. The Galactic Council governs over 300 species, Vrenth continued. We maintain peace and order across thousands of star systems. Earth now falls within our jurisdiction. You will follow Council law. You will dismantle your military forces. You will submit all technology for our approval. You will accept Council oversight in all matters of government and science. The room erupted in angry voices. Minji raised her hand for silence. She had questions that needed answers. Through the communication link, she asked, "What if we refuse?" Vrenth's laugh was like grinding metal. Refuse? You are children playing with fire. Look at your primitive weapons, your slow ships, your limited understanding of the universe. You have no choice. Comply or face the consequences. We can cut you off from the galaxy. We can destroy your orbital stations. We can make Earth a prison planet. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Then everyone started talking at once. Some leaders wanted to surrender immediately. Others demanded resistance. The argument grew heated. Minji watched them all, saying nothing. She was thinking about the tone in Vrenth's voice. The contempt, the certainty. He did not see humans as potential allies. He saw them as primitives to be controlled. Dr. Hunsu burst into the room, carrying a tablet filled with data. He was the best xenolinguist on Earth, the man who studied alien psychology and communication. I analyzed their broadcast, he said breathlessly. The language patterns, the body language, everything. They have done this before. Many times. They find a new species, make these same demands, and force them into submission. What happens to species that refuse? Jihoon asked. Hyunsu's face was grim. According to the data I pulled from their transmission codes, there are no records of species that refused. Everyone submits. Within a few generations, those species lose their identity. They become vassals, servants. They follow council orders and forget what freedom means. Minji stood up. Then we know what we are facing. This is not a negotiation. This is a test. They want to see if we will bow without a fight. Can we win a fight against them? Someone asked. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Jihoon moved to the display screen, studying the alien fleet formation. Maybe not in a direct battle, but humans have always been good at finding creative solutions. We adapt, we improvise, we survive. Captain Sunmi entered the command center, her flight suit still showing scorch marks from a recent patrol. She was the best pilot in the Terran fleet, fearless and brilliant. Admiral, I took my squadron close to their perimeter. Their shields are strong, but their sensor arrays have blind spots. We could exploit that. Do you really think we should fight them? Minji asked. Think about the cost. Think about the lives we could lose. Jihoon turned to face her. I think about something else. I think about my grandchildren growing up in a world where aliens tell us what to think, what to build, how to live. I think about humanity losing itself. That cost is higher than any battle. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. The result was clear. Earth would not submit. They would reject the Council's terms. Minji was chosen to deliver the message. Jihoon would prepare their defenses. Hyunsu would analyze every piece of data about the Council. and Sunmi would train her pilots for what might come. As the meeting ended, Minji looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Council fleet waited for humanity's answer. She thought about all the species that had surrendered, that had given up their freedom without a fight. She made a silent promise. Earth would be different. Humanity would stand. Vrenth had given them 72 hours to comply. Those 3 days would determine the future of the human race. The next 48 hours were chaos. Every government on Earth worked together for the first time in history. Military bases went on high alert. Scientists studied every piece of data about the alien fleet. Engineers began modifying weapons and shields. Everyone knew what was coming. Earth was preparing for war. Ambassador Minji sat in her office, writing and rewriting the speech she would deliver to the Galactic Council. Each word mattered. This would be the message that defined humanity's place in the universe. She wanted to be diplomatic but firm, respectful but unafraid. She knew Vrenth expected them to beg for mercy. She would give him something very different. Dr. Hyunsu worked in his laboratory, surrounded by screens showing alien script and symbols. He had broken into the Council's communication network. What he found disturbed him. The Council had detailed files on over 50 species they had subjugated. Each file told the same story. The Council would arrive, make demands, and the species would surrender. Within decades, those civilizations would lose their culture, their language, their freedom. They erase entire histories, Hyunsu told Minji when she visited his lab. Species that were once proud and independent become nothing more than workers for the Council. They mine resources, build ships, fight Council wars, and they do it willingly, because the Council rewrites their education, their media, their entire worldview. Is there any species that maintain their independence? Minji asked. Hyunsu shook his head. Not that I can find. But there are hints of resistance. Some species tried to negotiate. The Council crushed them. Others tried to hide. The Council found them. But I did find something interesting. There are member species within the Council who seem unhappy. Their internal communications show frustration with Council leadership. This gave Minji an idea. Perhaps not all aliens supported what Vrenth was doing. Perhaps some would be sympathetic to humanity's cause. She filed this information away for later use. Meanwhile, Admiral Jihoon stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching his fleet assemble. Earth had 200 warships built over decades of expansion into the solar system. They were designed to fight other human ships, not advanced alien technology. But Jihoon had a plan. Their ships use energy shields, he explained to his commanders. Energy weapons work well against energy shields. But kinetic weapons, old-fashioned bullets and missiles, those might pass right through. We will retrofit every ship with railguns. We will load nuclear torpedoes. We will fight them with the weapons they do not expect. Captain Sunmi volunteered to lead the reconnaissance missions. She took her shadow squadron deep into space, studying the alien fleet from a distance. Her pilots were the best, flying small, fast ships that could avoid detection. What they discovered was valuable. Their large ships are powerful but slow, Sunmi reported. Their fighters are fast but weak. They rely entirely on their shields for protection. If we can break through those shields, their hull armor is actually quite thin. They have never fought an enemy that could penetrate their defenses. The 72 hours passed quickly. Finally, the moment came. Minji stood before cameras that would broadcast her message across Earth and to the Council fleet. She wore a simple black suit. Her expression was calm. Behind her stood Jihoon in his military uniform, Hyunsu with his research data, and Sunmi in her flight jacket. They represented humanity's determination. High Counselor Vrenth, Minji began, her voice steady and clear. We have received your demands. We have considered your terms carefully. We have examined the future you offer us, and we must decline. She paused, letting the weight of those words settle. You call us primitive. You call us children. Perhaps by your standards we are young. But youth does not mean weakness. It does not mean we have no right to choose our own path. Humanity has fought for thousands of years to build free societies, to create governments that serve their people, to develop technology that improves lives. We will not surrender that progress because you demand it. You offer us protection and prosperity under your rule. But we have learned that freedom cannot be traded for security. A comfortable cage is still a cage. We choose to remain free even if that choice brings hardship. We do not seek war. We hope for peace. If the Galactic Council wishes to engage with humanity as equals, as partners, we welcome that future. We are willing to share our knowledge, our culture, our friendship. But we will not bow. We will not submit. We will not become another species that forgot what freedom means. This is our answer. We reject your terms. We claim our right to self-determination. If you choose to respect that right, we can build a better relationship. If you choose to force your will upon us, you will discover that humanity knows how to fight for what we believe in. The transmission ended. Across Earth, billions of people watched in silence. Some were afraid. Some were proud. All knew that everything had changed. There was no going back now. On his flagship in orbit around Jupiter, Vrenth watched the human broadcast. His mandibles clicked in anger. No species had ever rejected the Council so boldly. No primitive civilization had ever dared to challenge his authority. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. They think they can defy us, Vrenth said, his voice cold with rage. They think their primitive weapons can stand against Council might. We will teach them the cost of arrogance. Prepare a strike force. Target one of their orbital stations. We will show them what happens to those who refuse the Council's generosity. The order was given. 20 Council warships broke formation and headed toward Earth. Their target was Orbital Station Tycho, a military outpost that housed 3,000 people. It would be a demonstration of power. A warning. The Council expected humanity to panic and surrender, but Ji-hoon had been expecting this. His fleet was ready. Sunmi and her pilots were already in position, and humanity was about to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. The Council warships approached Orbital Station Tycho with confidence. Their shields glowed with energy. Their weapons charged. They had destroyed countless stations before, wiped out defenses of dozens of species. This would be routine, quick and decisive, a demonstration that would make the humans surrender. Commander Ji-won stood on the bridge of Tycho Station, watching the alien ships grow larger on his screens. He had evacuated all non-essential personnel. 300 soldiers remained, manning defensive guns and missile batteries. They all knew they were probably going to die, but they also knew their sacrifice would buy time for Earth's fleet to arrive. All weapons fire at will, Ji-won ordered. Show them we are not afraid. Missiles launched from Tycho, streaking toward the Council ships. Laser batteries opened fire. The Council shields absorbed everything easily. The alien weapons returned fire. Blue energy beams cut through space, slamming into Tycho's shields. The station shook violently. Alarms screamed. The shields were failing. Then Admiral Ji-hoon's fleet arrived. 50 human warships dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding the Council formation. The alien commander was surprised but not worried. These primitive ships posed no real threat, or so he thought. All ships execute Plan Delta, Ji-hoon commanded. Railguns focus fire on the lead ship. Target their shield generators. The human ships opened fire, but instead of energy weapons, they used railguns. Solid tungsten slugs, accelerated to incredible speeds, punched through space. The Council commander watched in confusion as the primitive kinetic weapons approached. Then his confidence turned to shock. The slugs passed through his energy shields as if they were not there. The impacts were devastating. Tungsten rods tore through alien hull plating. Systems exploded. The lead Council warship listed to one side, bleeding atmosphere and debris. The other alien ships broke formation, their commanders panicking. This was not supposed to happen. Their shields were supposed to be impenetrable. Captain Sunmi saw her opportunity. Shadow Squadron with me. We are going for their command ship. Her 12 fighters accelerated forward, weaving through the chaos of battle. They were tiny compared to the massive warships, too small for the alien targeting systems to track effectively. Sunmi led them straight at the Council flagship, the largest vessel in the enemy formation. Deploy EMPs, Sunmi ordered. Her squadron released electromagnetic pulse drones. The small devices flew ahead, detonating near the flagship's shield generators. The pulse disrupted the shield matrix for just a few seconds. But a few seconds was all they needed. Nuclear torpedoes, fire now. The torpedoes shot forward while the shields were down. They struck the flagship's hull and detonated. Nuclear fire bloomed in space. The flagship's entire port side was torn open. The ship's engines failed. It began drifting, dead in space. The remaining Council ships, seeing their flagship crippled and their lead ship destroyed, made a choice. They retreated, faster than human ships could follow. They accelerated away from Earth, jumping to hyperspace as soon as they reached safe distance. The battle was over in less than 30 minutes. Jihoon stood on his bridge, hardly believing what he was seeing. They had won. Against all odds, against superior technology, humanity had won its first battle against an alien empire. His crew erupted in cheers. Across the fleet, celebration broke out. But Jihoon knew this was just the beginning. He opened a channel to Commander Jiwan. Tycho Station. Report status. Shields at 15%. Hull breaches on 3 levels, but we are still here, Admiral. We survived. News of the battle spread across Earth within hours. People gathered in streets, in homes, in every corner of the planet, watching footage of the engagement. They saw the alien ships retreat. They saw humanity stand its ground. For the first time since the Council arrived, people began to believe they might actually have a chance. Ambassador Minji watched the reports with mixed feelings. The victory was important for morale, but she knew Vrenth would not take this defeat lightly. The Council had never been challenged like this. They would come back stronger, more prepared. This battle might have won a round, but the war was just beginning. Dr. Hyunsu intercepted communications between the retreating Council ships. What he heard was fascinating. The alien commanders were arguing among themselves. Some demanded immediate retaliation, others questioned their tactics. But the most interesting communication came from a ship that was not part of the attack force. It was a coded message from someone within the Council ranks. The message was simple. Not all of us support this war. Some of us remember what the Council used to be before Vrenth took control. Your courage gives us hope. Be ready. You are not alone. Hyunsu immediately brought this to Minji. There are allies out there, species that want the Council to change. If we can make contact with them, if we can build a coalition, we might have a real chance. Can you trace where that message came from? Minji asked. I am working on it, but whoever sent it was careful. They know the Council monitors all communications. They took a huge risk contacting us. That night, as Earth celebrated its first victory, the leaders gathered again. The mood was different now. They had proven that fighting was possible. But they all knew the real challenge was ahead. Vrenth would not accept this defeat. He would bring the full might of the Council against Earth. And next time he would be ready for their tactics. We need intelligence, Jihoon said. We need to know what the Council is planning. We need allies, and we need time to prepare better defenses. Minji nodded. I have an idea. We send an envoy. Someone who can travel through Council space, make contact with the species who might support us and gather information. Someone brave enough to walk into enemy territory. Everyone looked at her. They all knew who she was thinking of. Ambassador Daehyun, a young diplomat known for his intelligence and courage. He had volunteered weeks ago to undertake dangerous missions. This would be the most dangerous of all. Ambassador Daehyun prepared for his mission with care. His ship was small and fast, designed to look like a civilian transport rather than a military vessel. He carried diplomatic credentials and trade proposals, his cover story ready. But hidden in the ship's systems were communication devices that would allow him to contact Earth secretly. Before leaving, he met with Minji one last time. You understand the risks? She asked. If the Council discovers who you really are, they will not treat you kindly. Daehyun smiled. I understand. But I also understand what is at stake. If we cannot find allies, if we cannot learn the Council's weaknesses, we will lose this war. I am willing to take the risk. His journey took him deep into Council space, to stations and worlds where dozens of alien species lived and worked. What he saw there troubled him. These civilizations were not happy partners in the Council. They were servants. Their cities all looked the same, built according to Council specifications. Their children learned Council history, not their own. Their cultures were fading, replaced by uniform Council culture, but Daehyun also saw signs of resistance. Graffiti in alien languages that the Council had tried to suppress. Secret gatherings where old stories and traditions were kept alive. Whispered conversations about the human victory over the Council fleet. Word of Earth's defiance had spread, and it was inspiring others. On a trading station called Nexus 7, Daehyun made his first important contact. A merchant named Kelris from a species called the Velorans approached him in a crowded market. Kelris was humanoid but with blue skin and 3 eyes. He spoke in a low voice, careful not to be overheard. You are from Earth, yes? The world that refused the Council? Kelris asked. Daehyun considered lying, but something in Kelris's eyes told him this was not a trap. I am. What do you know about it? Everyone knows. The story has spread across 100 worlds. A new species barely into space standing up to Vrenth, damaging Council warships, forcing them to retreat. It has been 300 years since anyone challenged the Council successfully. Your people have given us something we had forgotten. Hope. Kelris led Daehyun to a secret meeting place beneath the station. There, Daehyun found representatives from 6 different species. They called themselves the Commonwealth, a loose alliance of civilizations that still remembered their freedom. They had been meeting in secret for years, planning resistance but lacking the courage to act. The Council controls everything, one of them explained. Communications, trade, military. If we resist openly, they will destroy us. But if Earth continues to fight, if you show the galaxy that the Council can be defeated, others will join you. What can you offer us? Daehyun asked. What kind of support? Information, Kelris replied. We know the Council's fleet movements. We know where their supply lines are. We know which species are loyal to Vrenth and which ones secretly hope for his downfall. We can give you intelligence that will save many lives. And when the time comes, another added, when Earth has proven that the Council can truly be defeated, we will stand with you. We will fight. But we need you to survive long enough to give us that proof. Daehyun established secure communication channels with the Commonwealth. Every day they sent him reports. Council fleet positions, supply depot locations, political divisions within the Council itself. He transmitted all of this back to Earth, where Dr. Hyunsoo analyzed every detail. The intelligence revealed something crucial. Vrenth was planning a massive invasion of Earth. He was assembling a fleet 5 times larger than the one that had first arrived. But the fleet would take time to gather. Different Council species had to contribute ships and troops. Some were eager to help, others were reluctant, dragging their feet. This gave Earth precious weeks to prepare. Back on Earth, Admiral Ji-hoon used this time well. Every shipyard worked around the clock building new vessels. Every factory produced weapons and ammunition. Engineers developed better shields based on captured Council technology. Soldiers trained for the battles to come. Captain Sunmi trained new pilots, expanding her Shadow Squadron from 12 ships to 50. She taught them the tactics that had worked in the first battle: speed and surprise, hit hard and disappear, never give the enemy a stationary target. Dr. Hyunsoo made a breakthrough. He cracked the Council's shield technology. Human shields had always been weaker than Council shields, but now he understood why. Council shields used a rotating frequency pattern that made them nearly impenetrable to energy weapons. But if you could match that frequency, you could pass through them. He designed new weapons that could do exactly that. This changes everything, he told Minji excitedly. We can upgrade our energy weapons to penetrate their shields. We are no longer limited to just railguns and missiles. Meanwhile, Daehyun's network in Council space grew. More species made contact, offering information and quiet support. He learned something that shocked him. Nearly half the Council members were unhappy with Vrenth's leadership. Many remembered when the Council was truly a cooperative alliance, not an empire. Vrenth had changed it, centralizing power and crushing dissent. If we can remove Vrenth, Kelris suggested during one meeting, the Council might reform itself. But he has made himself indispensable. He controls the military. He controls the economy. Removing him would require proof that his policies have failed. What if Earth defeats his invasion fleet? Daehyun asked. Would that be enough proof? More than enough. It would show that his tactics are wrong, that his arrogance has made the Council weaker, not stronger. The political pressure would force him to step down. Daehyun sent this information to Earth. The message was clear. This was not just about surviving the invasion. This was about winning so decisively that the Council itself would change. The stakes were enormous, but so was the opportunity. As preparations continued, everyone on Earth knew that the real battle was coming. Vrenth would not make the same mistakes twice. He would bring overwhelming force. But humanity had something the Council did not expect. They had allies. They had intelligence. And they had the will to fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. 3 months after the first battle, Vrenth's invasion fleet finally arrived. It was massive beyond imagination. Over 500 warships dropped out of hyperspace near Saturn's orbit. Each ship was larger and more powerful than anything in the first attack. The Council had committed a significant portion of its military might to crush humanity once and for all. On Earth, people watched the fleet approach with fear and determination. This was it. Everything they had prepared for. Everything they had fought for. The fate of humanity would be decided in the coming days. Admiral Ji-hoon stood in the command center studying tactical displays. His fleet had grown to 300 ships, but they were still outnumbered. The difference was, this time, they had a plan. And they had intelligence from the Commonwealth about Council tactics and weaknesses. The Council expects us to defend Earth directly, Ji-hoon explained to his officers. They expect us to sit in orbit and wait for them to arrive. Instead, we will use the terrain of our solar system. We will fight them at Saturn. Saturn's rings and moons provided perfect cover for ambush tactics. Ji-hoon had spent weeks positioning weapons platforms, mines, and hidden ships throughout the Saturn system. The Council fleet would have to come through this killing field to reach Earth. Vrenth, commanding from his flagship, was confident. He had learned from the first battle. His ships now had defenses against railguns. Their shields were adapted to stop both kinetic and energy weapons. He had studied human tactics and prepared countermeasures for everything they had used before. But he had not anticipated the help humanity was receiving from within his own alliance. The Commonwealth had provided crucial information about Council fleet patterns and communication protocols. Dr. Hyun-soo had used this to create false sensor readings that would confuse Council targeting systems. The Council fleet entered Saturn space in a massive formation, shields up and weapons ready. Vrenth ordered a cautious advance. His sensors detected human ships hiding among the moons, but the numbers seemed manageable. What he did not know was that many of those sensor readings were fake, hiding the true positions of human forces. All ships hold position, Ji-hoon commanded. Let them come deeper. Wait for my signal. The Council fleet advanced, moving between Saturn's moons. They were focused on the human ships ahead, not realizing they were surrounded. Mines floated in the rings, disguised as ice chunks. Weapon platforms sat silent on moon surfaces, and Captain Sunmi's expanded Shadow Squadron hid in the shadow of Titan, waiting. When the Council fleet was exactly where Ji-hoon wanted them, he gave the order. All forces, execute Operation Hammer. Chaos erupted. Mines detonated throughout the Council formation, not enough to destroy ships but enough to disrupt their shields and break their formation. Weapon platforms opened fire from the moons, targeting command ships and carriers. Human warships emerged from hiding, unleashing the new energy weapons that could penetrate Council shields. Vrenth's confidence shattered as his fleet took heavy casualties in the first minutes. His ships were powerful, but they were trapped in a carefully prepared ambush. Human forces attacked from every direction. The terrain of Saturn's system, which the Council had ignored, became their enemy. All ships break formation and attack, Vrenth ordered, rage and panic mixing in his voice. But breaking formation made his ships easier targets. The human forces knew this battlefield perfectly. Every moon, every ring, every gravitational current. They used it all. Captain Sunmi led her squadron in a daring strike against the Council's carrier ships. These massive vessels held thousands of fighters and support craft. If they could be disabled, the Council would lose much of its tactical flexibility. Shadow Squadron, form up on me. We are going straight down their throat. Her 50 ships accelerated as one, dodging enemy fire with practiced skill. They flew through the gaps in the Council formation, too fast and small for the big guns to track effectively. They reached the first carrier and released their payload. New weapons designed by human engineers specifically for this mission. Electromagnetic bombs that would shut down a ship's systems without destroying it. The carrier went dark, all power lost. Thousands of fighters inside were trapped, unable to launch. Sunmi's squadron moved to the next carrier, then the next. Within an hour, they had disabled 4 of the 6 carriers in the Council fleet. The tactical advantage shifted dramatically. Without fighter support, the Council warships were vulnerable. But the battle was far from over. Vrenth still had hundreds of warships, and they began to adapt to human tactics. Council commanders grouped their ships into defensive formations, covering each other's weaknesses. They started using their superior numbers to overwhelm human positions. Jihoon saw his forces beginning to take heavy losses. Many human ships were destroyed. Brave crews sacrificed themselves to hold key positions. The battle could still go either way. That was when the unexpected happened. A new fleet emerged from hyperspace. Ships from 3 different species, all part of the Commonwealth. They were not large in number, perhaps 50 vessels, but their arrival shocked everyone, especially Vrenth. Kelrus's voice came over the communication channels. "Attention, human fleet. This is the Commonwealth Alliance. We have watched your courage. We have seen your determination. We will stand with you. No more will we bow to tyranny." The Commonwealth. Ships joined the battle, attacking Council forces from behind. This was more than military support. This was a political earthquake. Species that had been loyal Council members for centuries had just openly rebelled. The implications were enormous. Vrenth's officers reported that communications were coming in from across the galaxy. Other species were questioning the invasion. Some Council members were demanding an immediate vote to recall the fleet. The political unity that Vrenth had relied on was collapsing. "All ships, focus on the human flagship," Vrenth commanded desperately. "If we destroy their leader, they will surrender." 20 Council warships broke formation and charged toward Jihoon's command ship, the Defiance. They poured all their firepower into one target. The Defiance's shields held, but barely. Jihoon knew they could not withstand this assault for long. Then the human fleet did something the Council did not expect. Every ship moved to protect the Defiance. They formed a wall of ships between Jihoon and the Council attackers. Ships took fatal hits that were meant for the flagship. Crews sacrificed themselves without hesitation. This display of loyalty and sacrifice made an impression across the galaxy. People watching from countless worlds saw humans willing to die for each other, for their leader, for their freedom. It was something the Council's subject species had not seen in a long time. The Battle of Saturn raged for 8 hours. It was the longest and bloodiest space battle in galactic history. Human ships fought with everything they had. The Commonwealth forces stood firm despite taking heavy losses, and slowly, impossibly, the Council fleet began to lose. Admiral Jihoon watched his tactical display, seeing the battle turn. Council ships were withdrawing, regrouping, losing their coordination. Their commanders were receiving orders from home, contradictory instructions as the Council itself descended into political chaos. Some were told to continue fighting. Others were told to cease fire immediately. Vrenth's flagship was damaged, its shields failing. He had lost over half his fleet. His carriers were disabled. Species he thought were loyal had betrayed him, and across the galaxy, dozens of Council members were demanding his removal from power. Everything he had built was collapsing. Captain Sunmi saw her chance. "Shadow Squadron, one more run. We are taking out Vrenth's command ship." Her squadron, now down to 30 ships from the original 50, made their final attack. They flew through the debris field, dodging wreckage and weapons fire. The flagship tried to defend itself, but its systems were failing. Sunmi's weapons found their mark. The flagship's main engines exploded. The ship went dead in space, power failing across all systems. Jihoon opened a wide communication channel, broadcasting to every ship in the battle. His voice was calm and authoritative. "This is Admiral Jihoon of the Terran Defense Fleet. I am addressing all Council forces. Your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is broken. Your political support is gone. I offer you a choice. Surrender now and we will treat you with honor. Continue fighting and we will destroy every ship here." Silence filled the communication channels. Council commanders looked at each other across their view screens, unsure what to do. They had never been defeated before. They had never surrendered. But they also saw what happened to species that underestimated humanity. One by one, Council ships powered down their weapons. Their shields dropped. They transmitted surrender codes. Within 30 minutes, the entire remaining Council fleet had capitulated. The battle was over. Humanity had won. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On Earth, people poured into the streets celebrating. They had faced the most powerful empire in known space and survived. More than survived. They had won. Tears of joy mixed with tears of grief for those who had died. The cost had been high, but freedom had been preserved. Human soldiers boarded Vrenth's flagship and took him into custody. The once proud High Counselor was now a prisoner. He looked at Jihoon with hatred and disbelief. "You have no idea what you have done. The Council will never accept this. The galaxy needs order. Without us, there will be chaos." Jihoon regarded him calmly. "The galaxy needs justice, not order imposed by force. You forgot that the species you rule are not children. They are civilizations with their own rights and dignity. You will face trial for your actions, but that trial will be fair, something you never gave to others." Ambassador Minji arrived on the Defiance shortly after the battle. She had been preparing for this moment, knowing that the real work would begin after the fighting stopped. War was simple. Peace was complicated. She opened communication channels to the Council homeworlds. "Members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador Minji of Earth. We did not seek this war. We only sought the right to remain free. Now that the battle is over, we offer terms, not terms of conquest, but terms of peace." She outlined humanity's proposal. Earth would release all prisoners. The Council fleet would be allowed to return home. But in exchange, the Council must reform. Species must be given true autonomy. The authoritarian policies must end. And Earth would join the Council, not as a subject but as an equal member. The Council members debated for days. Some wanted to continue the war, to send more fleets to crush humanity no matter the cost. But they were the minority. Most Council members saw the reality. Humanity had proven they could not be conquered easily. The Commonwealth Rebellion showed that other species were ready to resist, and the political cost of continuing was too high. A vote was held. Vrenth was removed from all positions of power. The Council agreed to reform its structure. A new charter would be written, one that guaranteed the sovereignty of member species, and humanity would help write it. Ambassador Daehyun emerged from hiding in Council space. He had been working with the Commonwealth throughout the crisis, coordinating their support for Earth. Now he worked openly, helping to forge new alliances. The Commonwealth species were welcomed back into the Council as full members, not as servants. Dr. Hyunsu led teams of human and alien scientists in technology exchanges. The Council had much to teach humanity about advanced physics and engineering, but humans had things to teach as well. Their adaptability, their creative problem-solving, their willingness to try unconventional solutions. These were valuable skills that many Council species had lost. Captain Sunmi was promoted to Admiral and given command of Earth's new expeditionary fleet. Her mission was to explore unknown regions of space, to make contact with species that had not yet been found by the Council, and to ensure they received fair treatment. She accepted the responsibility with pride. 6 months after the Battle of Saturn, a ceremony was held on a neutral station. Representatives from 300 species gathered to witness the signing of the new Council Charter. It guaranteed rights for all members. It prevented any single species from dominating others. It established democratic processes for Council decisions. Ambassador Minji stood before the Assembly, preparing to give a speech that would be remembered for generations. She thought about everything that had happened. The fear when the Council first arrived, the courage of those who fought, the sacrifice of those who died, the allies who stood with them. The moment when humanity proved it belonged among the stars. Admiral Jihoon sat in the audience wearing his dress uniform with its new medals and decorations. He watched Minji take the podium and felt a sense of completion. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had preserved humanity's freedom and changed the galaxy forever. As Minji began her speech, her words were translated into hundreds of languages and broadcast across thousands of worlds. Every species in the Council listened, and many heard for the first time in generations what true leadership sounded like. Ambassador Minji looked out at the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. These were leaders who had once viewed humanity as primitive and insignificant. Now they looked at her with respect, some with admiration and a few with lingering resentment. She understood all these reactions. Change was never easy, especially for those who had held power for so long. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice clear and confident. We stand here today at a turning point in history. Not just the history of one species, but of all species represented in this chamber. What happened over the past year has taught us all valuable lessons. Humanity learned that we are not alone in the universe. We learned that space is vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. We learned that survival requires not just strength but also wisdom and the courage to stand for our principles. But the Council learned something as well. You learned that youth does not mean weakness. That being new to space does not mean being without value. That different approaches to problems can be just as valid as traditional ones. And perhaps most importantly, you learned that true strength comes from cooperation among equals, not domination of the weak. My people did not want war. When High Counselor Vrenth first arrived with his demands, many on Earth argued for surrender. It would have been easier, safer. We could have accepted your terms and avoided all the bloodshed that followed. But we chose a different path. We chose freedom. That choice cost us dearly. Thousands of humans died defending our independence. Ships were destroyed. Families were shattered. But in making that choice, we discovered something about ourselves. We discovered that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It is our unwillingness to give up on what we believe is right. We also discovered that we were not alone in valuing freedom. The Commonwealth species who risked everything to stand with us showed that the desire for self-determination exists in every intelligent species. They showed that courage can inspire courage, that one act of defiance can spark a movement for change. Today we sign a new charter. This document represents a fundamental change in how the Council operates. No longer will powerful species dictate terms to weaker ones. No longer will ancient civilizations look down on younger ones. From this day forward, every member of this Council, from the oldest to the newest, has an equal voice. This charter guarantees certain rights: the right to govern yourselves, the right to develop your own technology, the right to maintain your military for defense, the right to preserve your culture and identity. These are not privileges to be granted or taken away. These are fundamental rights that belong to every civilization. But with these rights come responsibilities. We must respect the sovereignty of others. We must resolve disputes through dialogue, not force. We must share knowledge and resources to help all members prosper. We must protect those who cannot protect themselves. And we must never forget the lessons we learned so painfully this past year. Some may ask, what happens now? What does the future hold for this reformed Council? I cannot predict the future, but I can tell you what I hope for. I hope for a galaxy where new species are welcomed with friendship, not threats. Where differences are celebrated, not suppressed. Where peace is maintained through mutual respect, not military dominance. I hope for a galaxy where humans and aliens work together to solve the great challenges we all face: disease, poverty, environmental destruction, the mysteries of the universe itself. These are problems too large for any one species, but together we can accomplish anything. Earth is honored to join this Council, not as conquerors who defeated you, but as partners who fought for the right to stand beside you. We bring our strengths to this alliance, our adaptability, our innovation, our determination, but we also bring our flaws, our impatience, our tendency toward conflict, our relative inexperience with galactic affairs. We ask that you accept us as we are, with both our strengths and weaknesses. In return, we promise to accept you the same way. We promise to listen to your wisdom, to learn from your experience, to respect your traditions, and to work tirelessly toward building a better future for all species in this Council. History will remember this day. Centuries from now, when our descendants look back, they will see this as the moment when the galaxy chose cooperation over domination, when we chose to be a true council of equals, not an empire hiding behind democratic words. To the humans watching from Earth, I say this: be proud of what you have accomplished. You faced the impossible and prevailed. You showed the galaxy that humanity deserves its place among the stars. But do not let this victory make you arrogant. Remember the sacrifices made, honor those who died, and work every day to be worthy of the freedom they fought to preserve. To the Commonwealth species who stood with us, I say, your courage changed everything. Without you, humanity might have fallen. You risked your worlds, your people, your futures to do what was right. That kind of bravery deserves recognition. You are not just our allies. You are our brothers and sisters in the cause of freedom. And to all Council members, even those who opposed us, I say this: the past is behind us. We have a choice about what comes next. We can hold on to old grudges and resentments, or we can move forward together, building something better than what came before. I choose the future. I hope you will join me in that choice. This charter we signed today is not the end of our journey. It is the beginning. There will be challenges ahead, disagreements, conflicts, moments when this alliance is tested. But I believe in the strength of what we are building. I believe that a galaxy united in freedom and mutual respect is stronger than any empire built on conquest. So let us sign this charter together. Let us pledge ourselves to its principles, and let us go forward into a new era, an era where every species, no matter how old or young, powerful or weak, has the right to choose its own destiny. That is the future humanity fought for. That is the future we will build together. Minji stepped back from the podium. The chamber erupted in applause. It started with the Commonwealth representatives, but spread quickly. Even some of Renth's former supporters stood and clapped. They recognized the wisdom in her words, the vision of something better than what they had known. The signing ceremony took hours. Each species representative added their mark to the charter. When it was done, the document was displayed for all to see. A promise written in hundreds of languages, binding together civilizations from across the stars. That night, Admiral Jihoon, Captain Sunmi, Dr. Hyunsu, Ambassador Daehyun, and Ambassador Minji gathered privately. They looked at each other. These 5 people who had changed the course of history. No words were needed. They understood what they had accomplished together. Jihoon raised a glass. To those who did not return, to the battles we fought, and to the peace we won. They drank in silence, each remembering the journey that brought them here. From Earth's first contact with an alien species, through war and sacrifice to this moment of triumph. They had rejected the Council's terms and, in doing so, had created something better for everyone. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, people watched the broadcast of the signing ceremony. Species that had lived under Council control for centuries saw a new future opening before them. Young civilizations not yet discovered knew they would be treated fairly when their time came. And on Earth, 7 billion humans looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were no longer alone. They were part of something larger. And through courage and sacrifice, they had earned their place not as subjects, but as equals. The story of how humanity astonished the Galactic Council by rejecting all terms of negotiation would be told for generations. It would inspire others to stand for their rights. It would remind powerful civilizations to treat others with respect. And it would serve as proof that sometimes the most important thing you can say is simply, no.